your snacking routine can get a little dull. Time for a light and fit remix. Like a crunchy storm of graham cookies, caramel pearls, and dark chocolate, showering down into a smooth, creamy yogurt. Enjoy 3 light and fit remix varieties with craveable flavors and up to 120 calories and 10 grams of protein per 4.5-ounce serving. See remixyogurt.com.
Mic check. 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some are fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, my friends, to the Saturday Vibe. If you would like to be on the program this morning, 800-848-9222 is how you reach us, 800-848-9222. So much in the news. We are looking forward. I am so looking forward to hearing the voices that are a part of this Saturday morning presentation. Princess Diana, later on in the program. America's small caffeinated mom, Rhonda Schrock, later in the program. Later in the program also, our very own Red Apple Media anchorette supremo, Lizzie Radabali. I can't wait for Lizzie. The workers of her generation are at it again. I don't know what she has, the stories that she has in mind, but that's one that the workers are upset again in her generation. One of the things I will bring up with her, the Supreme Court has been very active. Yesterday, actually, they sent a case back to the Fifth Circuit, lower court, dealing with the Alien Enemies Act. We will talk about that. There's a lot of upset in some conservative quarters over Trump's appointee, Justice Amy Barrett, and we may touch on that. So much else is going on, too. The Mideast trip from Donald Trump is getting rave reviews in some quarters, being sort of sneered at by the AP. I hope they weren't on Air Force One. The Air Force jet has been in the news this week. The South Africans have been in news this week. The hate pouring from the left, and tinged with racial hatred all the way through, including calls to go back to Africa, which Democrats used to usually reserve those for black Americans. Now they're saying that about the white Afrikaners. Yeah. So you've got that. House Republicans, a handful of Republicans, sink Trump's big, beautiful bill in a key House committee. There's some mild upset about that on social media. I am not overly concerned about that. This is the give and take of the legislative process. It doesn't mean the bill is sunk. It means, and the people that are holding out for it have principal reasons, and we'll see what happens. I'm sure, in fact, Chip Roy, who's been on this show before, Chip, I consider Chip a friend. Chip has, by the way, Trump has had some real moments with Chip Roy. And, but Chip says, look, we're trying to press through the Trump agenda. I think we have it. We'll listen to that audio later. He says he's staying in D.C. all weekend so that they can continue to work. He's trying, one of the things that Chip Roy is concerned about is the expansion of Medicaid, and what he's trying to do is get some fiscal discipline. in this bill concerning that. That issue, by the way, is polling horribly for Republicans. And I don't think many people understand what's going on here. They just hear that they want to cut an entitlement, and off to the races the polling data goes, and the numbers are not good with Republicans or with Democrats on what should happen, because what is not being explained is how much Medicaid was expanded under the Biden regime and how much money is pouring out that this country can't afford to people who should not be on the program in the first place the way that the program was initially designed. But Republicans better get their act together in terms of messaging on that one. Otherwise, they are potentially going to take a hit on it. Other things happening socially this week. I was encouraged to hear from the new Pope. Pope Leo XIV affirmed marriage, man, woman, unions, as he put it, affirmed family, pretty much values, and including a message there about really protecting the unborn, the dignity of the unborn. So maybe some people think that's just consistent with what it is, but that was an encouraging first message. We'll see how this new Pope continues to message to the flock, his faithful. But I thought it was an encouraging opening message from him. The opening message was peace be unto you earlier, but this was one of the first pronouncements from the new Pope. So we've got that. I have not on purpose, I can't say on purpose, but I have not been following this whole Diddy trial. I have heard, and I've read a few things from the days of testimony over the woman that he abused, Cassie Ventura. In fact, I printed out a story today. At 4 days, she testified in the federal trial, and for the life of me, look, I haven't followed it, so I must profess to be ignorant on this, on certain things. I don't know why this is a federal case. I'll have to dig that out. And I'll dig it out. But in these 4 days, I've had people come, some of my friends have you heard what Diddy made her do? Have you heard how awful it was? They shake their heads, how depraved his behavior was, how horrible, and some of the things that they mentioned to me that she testified to are pretty gross, pretty awful, almost beyond comprehension, evil, if you want to, or rather perverse. And I get that. And I certainly don't want to be a person that says blame the victim. But I do have a question about this. And it's the same question that I had when, oh boy, maybe I'm getting myself in hot water with this question. I don't know. Here's the question. What responsibility do women have when they enter in relationships with these powerful men, especially in the entertainment business, and they're getting something out of it, whether it's a movie deal, whether it's a record deal, whatever it is. I guess because Harvey Weinstein had a reputation, right? In Hollywood, people kind of knew that everything wasn't just tickety-boo P. Diddy had a reputation. I mean, I've been hearing about him on the periphery of news for years, and he had a certain reputation. What? Again, I'm not trying to blame her. I don't know enough about it to blame anybody, and that's not what I'm trying to do. But at what point, I'd love to hear from some women on this, at what point, if you're a woman, do you have the responsibility to say to a guy, you know what, you're a sicko, I'm out of here. You want me to do what? Oh, hell no. You jump in a lake, and I don't care whether my career has to suffer or not. I'm out of here. How dare you think that I would engage in this kind of behavior with you, or in the case of apparently with Diddy, or with the other scores of other people that you want me to engage it with? Is it only the dude's fault that these situations, and it's an honest question because I don't know enough of the specifics of what happened with this guy and his ex. I do know one thing. After that video of him kicking her up and down in the hotel, apparently she's suing the hotel as well, according to this one article I have here. But that would have been enough. That's it. I mean, bye. And by the way, I'm calling the cops. And by the way, you'll never see me again with this whole kicking her while she's on the floor. Like she's just a piece of debris. Horrible stuff here. Why, at what point, I know some people want to be famous and they want a great career in show business, but at what point does a woman have a responsibility to just say, no, I'm out of here? And by the way, you're going to jail. Before this thing. Again, I haven't followed it as much, so that's just a question. Democrats are continuing, by the way, to make absolute idiots of themselves with this Abrego Garcia thing now, according to roll call today. No, I'm sorry, The Hill. Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee are pressuring Chuck Grassley to hold a hearing. They want a full-scale hearing on Kilmar Abrego Garcia. They should review the lack of due process, whether he was shipped to El Salvador. They continue to make an issue of this. Immigration is still an issue that is hurting Democrats, whether they realize it or not. We had that awful case in Colorado, illegal immigrant, 15 years old, rams into a car, kills a girl, kills her, T-bones the car. She's 24 years old, kills an American girl, young lady. And the progressive DA out there says, okay, well, you were on probation, and that's it. Was doing 90 miles an hour in a 45-mile zone. And they won't release his name because he's a minor, so they're protecting him. He has to do no jail time whatsoever, just probation. Oh, yeah, and go to school, and if you're a good boy, everything will be fine. Meanwhile, this girl's family is distraught. My friends. Countess of Conspiracy has weighed in via text. I believe she says probably some of these women have daddy issues. These women don't have self-esteem, probably daddy issues. And she says the solution would have been to get cousin Walter, that's like cousin Smith and Wesson, a cousin Sig Sauer. We got to take a quick break. James Golden, Snerdley, Saturday Morning Vibe. This song, yes, Vangelis, passed away on this day in 2022. Known, of course, for this one. He did also the soundtrack for Blade Runner. Passed away at age 79 on this day in 2022. This went to number one. I remember when it was number one. And it stayed there for a while on the American charts. Keep it right here. The Saturday Morning Vibe continues.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Ah, Smart Water Alkaline with antioxidant.
Whoa, that's refreshing.
And a 9.5 plus pH for every way you move.
I did take a Spain class today.
Restoring like a pro. Smart Water Alkaline with antioxidant. For those with a taste for taste. Grab yours today.
ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track. And ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Custom window treatments are a small upgrade that have a big impact. No better time to shop than now at Blinds.com's Memorial Day Mega Sale. Blinds.com invented a better way to shop for window treatments, completely online with upfront pricing, no showroom markups, no salespeople in your home. Choose from classic shutters to outdoor shades and more, all backed by our 100% satisfaction guarantee. Shop Blinds.com's Memorial Day Mega Sale now. Save up to 50% site-wide, plus a free measure. Rules and restrictions may apply.
The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I wanted to talk about the Trump thing, and I just want to say this isn't something we can wait for. This isn't something we can handle legally.
What?
This is something that has to be handled with warfare. And as a pacifist, that pains me to say, but it's true. This government has had its run, but a lot of people have wanted it to die for a long time, especially the indigenous. They've been fighting forever. And I don't think that protests are going to solve this. We need to actually start preparing for war, because that's what's coming. And I don't have high hopes, because most people aren't willing to break from their comfortable lives in order to make changes. So we need to get united and quickly. That's the only way we're going to be rid of this. And it's time for the government to fall. That's all. Have a good day.
I tell you, the TDS out here is amazing. I always love this genre on this song, the way this melody is so Middle Eastern, actually. Donna Summer, passed away on this day in 2012. It is believed, by the way, that she's a victim of the September 11 terrorist attacks in New York, that she inhaled a lot of toxic particles. She was near there. 5 Grammy Awards, 6 American Music Awards, 3 multi-platinum albums. Great vocalist. After the whole disco phase was over, she did a few other albums that were just really superb. But known as Queen of the Disco. Donna Summer. We can hear more of Donna Summer later. Thank you, Carlos, very much for that selection. Okay, there is, let's see. Let's begin with this. Well, we began. And some people are responding to some of these questions that I raised, especially about, including the question I asked about why is this Diddy thing a federal issue? Because Countess of Conspiracy, trafficking is federal. Is he accused? Well, besides just being depraved, I mean, some of the stuff I'm hearing out of that case is just awful. Now, Donald Trump's numbers we're going to get to, but let's talk about this court case for a moment. I rarely have praise for anything I read in the mainstream press. There is an article in the Washington Post today that I found interesting because it was well written. I'm not saying I agree with it 100% or the conclusions, but it was well written. And I can appreciate an article that is well written these days, whether I agree with it or not. And basically the premise of the article is that this Supreme Court is dealing with what the author, Jason Willett, calls post-congressional politics. That's because the Congress has refused to act. I'm trying to distill this in a nutshell. Because Congress doesn't act, large part you have the Senate filibuster, which prevents a lot of legislation from really happening, along with the close majorities in the House. Presidents, since Obama, have been using the executive orders. And that's the root of the problem. The root of the problem lies with Congress being ineffective, presidents, in order to get things done, using executive orders, and then the dance that goes on from there in the courts. And Justice Kavanaugh at this hearing spoke about it. We'll have a little bit more on that. So whatever you do, don't go away. Keep it right here. Be right back.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Although these words might seem harmless, they are rooted in a long history of oppression and racism in the U.S. Number one, nitpicky. This refers to enslaved people who were forced to pick nits or lice out of other people's hair. It was a very dehumanizing task. Number two, gyp. This is actually related to the word gypsy, which is a slur for Romani people. Number three, no can do. This was originally a sentence or term used to mock Asian Americans, primarily Chinese immigrants, to make fun of their accent. Number three, uppity. This was a term used to describe black people who were typically seen as too confident, and it was definitely an insult that preceded violence against black people. Number four, the peanut gallery. This term refers to in segregated theaters when black people had to sit in the worst, cheapest seats in the house. And finally, we have the term grandfathered in, which is in reference to when black people were forced to take literacy tests in order to vote, aka a form of voter suppression. White people who had been grandfathered in the right to vote did not have to take these tests. So if you're a white person, please stop using these things. Peace and love.
Thank you for that, young lady. I think she's nitpicking a little bit. On this day in 1970, Jordan Knight, one of the vocalists with the boy band New Kids on the Block, was born. 1990, this was number one. The year before, of course, they had You Got It, The Right Stuff. Happy birthday to Jordan Knight. And thank you for that. We've heard enough. We've heard enough. You could have just, thank you. Heard enough. 800, by the way, 848-9222 is how you reach us this morning. I mentioned the article in the Washington Post, today's Washington Post. The Supreme Court grapples with post-congressional politics. The article begins by saying school children are taught that law in the United States is made by Congress, Article 1, implemented by the executive, Article 2, interpreted by the courts, Article 3. But that system has been breaking down at least since Obama's second term. Policy making is now centered around presidential decrees. Thursday's Supreme Court argument in Trump versus Casa, mi casa su casa, showed that justices in the court's ideological middle are bracing themselves for this volatile new regime. Can the least dangerous branch, that being the courts, I would argue with that. In many cases, they are the most dangerous branch, constrain the executive in a post-congressional world? The case arose out of President Donald Trump's executive order denying citizenship to children born to certain immigrants in the United States. But the Constitution's provision for birthright citizenship was not the subject of the hearing. Instead, the subject was the legal tool that district judges in Massachusetts, Maryland, and Washington used to block Trump's order, the nationwide injunction. Nationwide injunctions invalidate presidential policy altogether rather than giving relief to the specific people who sued, as courts typically do. It goes on to say that Solicitor John Sauer, that's arguing for the government, arguing for Trump, asked the Supreme Court to bar universal injunctions, which he said it hindered the last 5 presidential administrations. Justice Kavanaugh, though, seemed to doubt that lower courts using these injunctions were the problem. He asked Sauer, and by the way, I'm not reading verbatim from the article, I'm paraphrasing some of it. And anyway, he asked Sauer whether on one explanation of nationwide, on the rise of these nationwide injunctions is that it's harder for presidents to get legislation through Congress, particularly with the filibuster rule, which requires 60 votes to pass daggone near anything in the Senate. When presidents can't get new authority, Kavanaugh suggested, perhaps they find ways to stretch or use existing authority to do the things they want, prompting more judicial pushback. Kavanaugh described the pattern of governance in recent presidencies. He says first the president enacts some major new rule, then the opponents sue. And a year or two later, it gets to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court will make a final judgment. But in the meantime, he mentioned Biden's administration's vaccine mandate, eviction moratoriums. Whether the rule is paused or allowed to go into effect is really important. It affects its policy until it's ruled on. A system of rule by presidential decree will put the Supreme Court on the spot whether or not lower courts can issue nationwide injunctions. Chief Justice Roberts is projecting confidence that the justices on the Supreme Court are up to the task, that these issues will not languish in the lower courts. You'll get to the conflicting decisions fairly quickly, he said. But Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who is under a lot of heat on social media from the right, appeared to have reservations about whether that would happen. She wanted to know whether Trump administration would accept court rulings Did I understand you correctly? She asked, to reserve the right not to follow the precedent of an appellate court because you might disagree with the opinion? When Sauer hedged and said the Supreme Court opinions carried more weight, she asked pointedly, so you're not hedging at all with respect to the precedent of this court? That's correct. So, again, I thought this was a well-written article. I'm not saying I agree with it, but this idea that one of the reasons, and we kind of know this, but it's good to see it articulated, one of the reasons that things have not gotten, that the presidents have to use executive orders more, is the lack of, on the big issues, the will of the people exerting themselves, whether it be from the House or the Senate. That's why it was so refreshing this week, in case you missed it, and I covered it. We talked about it. Ro Khanna, Democrat, California, actually made moves to codify a Trump executive order. And it was like, wow. Why aren't more Republicans doing this? And I made the point of saying that this is something that Republicans had better do. Look, the reason that Donald Trump has been on a tear, reversing everything that Biden did during his presidency, is because of this very thing. Presidents have been using executive orders in place in lieu of Congress doing their job and coming up with legislation. And one of the things that, if we don't want to see every gain that is being made overturned by a future Democrat president, some of the things that are happening here that we agree with, that we think are putting this country in the right direction again, had better be codified into law. Not just an executive action. And don't think that the Democrats are showing signs of giving up on anything that they want. These people, we may think that they're lost in the wilderness, and they are. But events can take place. The strangest things happen in politics, and we could end up with a Democrat president a lot sooner than any of us think or want. And all the gains that are being made right now could simply be overturned. The same way that Donald Trump has upended everything Joe Biden spent 4 years doing in less than 4 months. So this impasse has to break at some point. Now, the Supreme Court yesterday, this is a Associated Press account of what happened. So bear that in mind when you hear the language of the story. The Supreme Court on Friday told conservative judges in Texas they must offer a hearing to detained Venezuelans whom the Trump administration wants to send to a prison in El Salvador. The justices, over two dissents, and you can guess which two dissented, the two greatest judges on the court, rebuked Texas judges and the Trump administration lawyers for moving quickly on a weekend in mid-April to put these illegal immigrants on planes and send them out of the country. They were rebuked. They smoked them. They rebuked them. That led to a post-midnight order from the High Court that told the administration it may not remove any member of the punitive class or detainees, meaning don't get rid of these illegal aliens, keep them here. Yesterday, the court issued an unusual 8-page order to explain their earlier decision. In that 8-page order, they faulted a federal judge in Lubbock, Texas, and the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for taking no action, they said, to protect the due process rights of the detained men. And let me tell you something, this is a big deal, and this brings If every single one of these illegal immigrants that came into this country, that just walked right in, if we have to wait years and years to remove every single individual one, every single one cannot just be say, okay, you're here illegally. Yeah, you had a hearing. We found you here illegally. Goodbye. If we have to go through years and years and years of litigation for all the 11 million new illegals that Joe Biden allowed into this country on purpose, this problem will not be solved. I don't know what and Donald Trump's livid. He wrote a message on social media that the Supreme Court is not letting him get rid of these illegal immigrants from the country. I'm going to try to find the post on Truth Social, but he's hot, and he should be. Here it is. President Trump reacted with fury over this ruling. The Supreme Court, in caps, won't allow us to get criminals out of our country. In a subsequent post, he wrote, the Supreme Court of the United States is not allowing me to do what I was elected to do. He calls it a bad and dangerous day for Americans. Lawyers for the illegal, it's in the story, for the migrants, I will correct that. Lawyers for the illegal immigrants responded with relief. This decision means that more individuals will not secretly be sent to brutal prisons in El Salvador. So, in essence, you've had Venezuela and Nicaragua dumping their criminals here by the bucket loads, and we saw crime rates in America shoot up. We've seen trafficking gangs. In fact, I don't have the soundbite, but there was a sound just before the show, I saw it, of another arrest in L.A. it was Irvine, California, of another criminal group sent over from either Venezuela, Colombia, one of those nations. A theft ring. So they deliberately sent, in some cases, dumped their jails, dumped their mental institutions in some of these countries, walked them over with Joe Biden's open borders, and now, instead of us just being able to say, you came here illegally, we know you're illegal. You go quick. Yep. You can be deported. Put them on a plane. Get them out of here. Now we've got to do. I don't know how long this legal dance is that is being required. Maybe years. By the time liberal Democrats and their advocacy groups keep appealing every single one of these things. It's astounding what is happening here. James Golden, Snerdley. I'm going to take some calls when we get back. I haven't taken calls this week. 1967. Glenn Campbell records this one at the Capitol Recording Studios in Hollywood, California, on this day, 1967. Leon Russell was the co-writer of this, John Hartford. This song won 4 Grammy Awards in 1968 and became the theme for Glenn Campbell's Good Time Hour television show. Gentle on my mind. James Golden, Snerdley with you. Saturday Morning Vibe continues. Whatever you do, don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Oh, man. The Brothers Johnson. That's because it's George Johnson's birthday today. The Brothers Johnson, they worked with Quincy on some of Quincy's albums. Of course, they were background music for a lot of Motown stuff. The Brothers Johnson, incredible. And, of course, they had their own hits, including this one, Stomp. Their first one that broke big for them was I'll Be Good to You. Strawberry Letter 23 was huge for them. And we use the theme of this show is from the Brothers Johnson. Let's do this. Let's get to some phone calls. I've been promising them 800-848-9222. Tony, you're up. How are you, Tony?
Hi, James. Good morning, sweetheart.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You know, I heard you talking this morning, and of course, as the Cassie Ventura testimony wraps up, there's so many things I'm thinking about, and there's so many things that people I think about. I think of Cuba Gooding, who had his cases in New York. He did very well, no jail time. Harvey Weinstein, well, we're seeing that come to fruition. You know, we're seeing a trial on him. And P. Diddy's also in New York City. And you know what I think of? I think of Alvin Bragg. And most of these people will do very well. For women, many of them, James, were famous, like Gwyneth Paltrow. She told her sad story. All these famous women, this is the casting couch. And the fact of the matter is that right now women don't stand a chance. You look at where these trials are. You look at women who are in an industry, and Emma Thompson, one of the famous British actresses, said it best. She said, you know, this is an industry dominated by men. Most of the people who work in the industry, from top to bottom, from the helpers to the studio people, it's a man place. And women really have taken second tier to what's going on, and they have to make a choice. And of all the women I read about, and I read about everyone from Gwyneth Paltrow, the only woman who didn't say anything about Weinstein was Julia Roberts, which I thought was kind of interesting. But most of the women say that Weinstein was, like, horrible, and they were famous when he started to mess with them. They were at that pivotal point. Women have to decide, and the only woman, it was an actress named Sean Young, and she said the first time she met Harvey, he exposed himself, and she said, why are you showing me that ugly thing? And she said, you know what? From then on, I never worked with him again. And she was just like, not even a B-rated actress, James. She never got anywhere. The industry is brutal, so women have to know better, and we need to get women out in the industry to look out for each other. Otherwise,
okay. So what can women do, Tony? I mean, what can women do if they want to get ahead? Are you saying they have to play ball and do? This woman, Cassie, apparently was abused in ways that I can't even. Just unbelievable. I can't hear you, honey.
I'm here.
So, okay, something happened with your phone line, and all of a sudden it dropped. Tony, the phone line dropped in volume, so I don't know whether we're able to hear you. I'm going to pose, thank you for the call. We couldn't make out what you were saying. I'm going to pose this question to all of you. What are women supposed to do if they want a job in these fields, like the entertainment fields? Tony's arguing that, hey, it's a man's world. If these women want to get ahead, that's what I want to ask you. Is this, do they have to play ball? I was going to ask Kelvin, and Kelvin, I'm going to ask you and Carlos. Have you guys heard the details of this woman's testimony about what P. Diddy, in quotes, made her do?
Yeah, like have. A little bit from, we got to go. We got to go.
We'll be back. Snerdley, Saturday Morning Vibe continues. Keep it right here. Do not go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, my friends, to Our Number Duo. Our number uno in the can. Our number duo commences. Bo Snerdley, James Golden, it is the Saturday Morning Vibe. Glad you're here. 800-848-9222 is how you reach us. if you want to be part of the program today. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for Red Apple Media Superstar, Reporterette Journalist Supremo, our very own Lizzie Radabali. Lizzie, welcome. How are you?
I am just doing fabulous. How are you doing, Bo?
I'm doing great. You sent me some great stories here. Mexico is demanding compensation from this YouTube guy, Mr. Beast.
I know. Yeah, we've talked about him in the past before, too.
Yeah. You brought him to my attention. So now this guy goes to Mexico. He goes to the ancient ruins. He gets in somehow in places that even Mexicans don't have access to, the ruin sites from ancient Mayan cities. He uses footage of it to sell a chocolate brand. And now the Mexican government is ticked off and they want compensation.
Yeah, so Mr. Beast, I just have to say, I've actually been to the Mayan ruins myself. I just came back recently from a trip not so long ago, about less than a month ago. I was in the Mayan ruins myself. And I will say that I did actually get injured there. I did suffer a bit of an injury there. It was the safest part of my trip. It was like not dangerous or anything like that. I just tripped over a rock and ended up spraining my ankle on the trip. But so the Mayan ruins are beautiful, beautiful. It's not much, though. I will say there's not much left. That's because it's been, thousands of years. And, acid rain, the weather, it starts to break down all these structures. So there's not really much left to these ruins. And then yet this YouTuber just kind of continues to degrade this site. I mean, so you mentioned he was kind of hawking his chocolate bars. He sells his own chocolate bars across, you can find them at many retail sites, but he sells these chocolate bars and compared his chocolate, he said that it was Mayan approved while he was at the ancient site. So that ended up, kind of upsetting the National Institute of Archaeology and History. They said that, hey, we allowed you to come to this site. We allowed you to come to this kind of regarded, revered site of a society that is now far gone. And there are still Mayan people. I do want to clarify, though, Mayan people still, indigenous Mayans still exist, but this Mayan society obviously, has collapsed under the age of modernity. But people, the chocolate that he's selling, that was not part of the plan. He was allowed at this site. He was allowed at the Mayan ruins, but then he ended up using it as kind of a platform to advertise. He used it as free advertising for his chocolate. And the government there says, man, that was not part of the deal. We gave you a permit to explore. It was not, you could not use the site for advertising any commercial brands or, getting a private profit. So we'll see if they actually are able to. Yeah, I mean, where are they going to sue him? I mean, good luck getting their money out of it. Okay, Lizzie, I love that story and thank you, but I got to ask you about this. You know what I'm going to ask you about. I know. I already know. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Charbucks, affectionately known to me as Charbucks, but Starbucks is suggesting that their workers, not suggesting, they're saying, okay, look, it's time for a dress code. I guess they're sick of, people walking in their stores and the employees look like something the cat drug out and drug back in, or look like they're the centerfold for Cabanas and Heroin Weekly. So Starbucks wants to bring some order to their stores, have a look. They're not being oppressive. They are asking their employees, okay, you wear, some black or your blue jeans underneath your apron. Wear black khakis or something, or blue jeans. And you would have thought the world ended. I have 2 bites for you, Lizzie. Let's go cut 33. Here you go. Hey, this is what's happening outside of some Starbucks.
Hey, ho. Dress code has got to go. Hey, ho. Dress code has got to go. What do we want? A contract. Now. What do we want? A contract. When do we want it? Now. And if we don't get it, shut it down. If we don't get it, shut it down. If we
Okay. And then you have another. We're not done. We have one more. Here you go.
This isn't just about clothes. It's about control. Right now, union Starbucks workers across the country are putting on runways and walking out on strike. Because once again, Starbucks made a big decision about our jobs without bargaining with us. And this time, it's a new restrictive dress code. One that we're paying for out of pocket. So we're walking in to say no more. And newsflash, making baristas wear certain shades of black doesn't make the customer experience any better. Policing what we have on doesn't fix short staffing or long lines, and it certainly doesn't help with baristas dealing with understaffing, lack of hours, and low pay. They think they can tell us how to dress, expecting us to spend money on new shoes or pants just to be in
Enough of this whining.
She was making some good points. She was making some good points. I don't know what that part. I mean, yeah, she's right.
What good points? What good points?
The fact that someone dressed a certain way doesn't actually change your customer experience.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They own they own the business. They can suggest to their employees, "Hey, we'd like you to wear black, or wear some blue jeans." They own the freaking business.
Okay, well, I will say part of the reason that they're saying this, they're implementing these new rules is to make its green aprons stand out and create a sense of familiarity. Now, first of all, I just want to start with the green. That burnt forest green is the most ugly color in the world. It is not aesthetically pleasing, like a soft, maybe if they switched to seafoam green, it would be more pleasurable on the eyes. But that burnt forest green is an ugly color. I don't know why anybody would want it to stand out. I don't know why anybody would want it to stand out. And sense of familiarity, customers, babies can, I swear to God, someone born yesterday would be able to recognize the Starbucks logo. It is everywhere. It is taken over. I mean, in the city, New York here, you cannot walk more than 2 blocks without running into one of these Starbucks. So, I mean, this is kind of, if you don't mind me, this is radio, so you can't see me putting on my tinfoil hat. But I do think that this is all a conspiracy. I do think that there's actually some evil, some serious gaslighting being done on the part of Starbucks. Now, let me explain.
Please.
So a lot of people are asking, man, this is weird. Why right now? Why? It seemed to come really out of nowhere. I mean, the company is not, really doing awfully. Their stocks, I mean, it's, up and down as Wall Street always is. But, this company itself has not been suffering. It hasn't been, hurting for anything. It hasn't, there haven't been widespread complaints about the way baristas dress. So this kind of came out of nowhere. And I think that Starbucks is doing this in order to provoke its workers and discredit the efforts of the union. I do think that this is all a conspiracy to crush the workers who are trying to unionize, who are actually seeking to fix the legitimate issues, like they said, the staffing shortages, their pay, the health care. I do think that those serious issues are being, undermined by this.
So what happens here, Lizzie? So what happens? So they don't like the dress code. So then Starbucks says, you dress code, either you dress up the way we tell you to do or you're fired. And then they get rid of the rabble rousers. That's what you think?
I mean, yeah, I just think
Good
that in
plan.
I just think in general it's to discredit the union, and I don't think that that's going to be a winning effort in the end. I think people are still going to side with the workers, and ultimately, I mean, who cares about who is it, even the CEO of Starbucks anymore?
First of all, what do you mean people care? If these people don't want to work the conditions that the owners of the company have decided, they can find other jobs.
I mean, that is just...
And they should.
That's just
And if this is a way to get rid of the rabble rousers, these little malcontents who are in there whining because someone says, wear a black shirt, wear some blue jeans to work, for goodness sakes, Lizzie. I mean, bye. Let them go.
Ultimately, like I said, I don't think that this issue is really a big issue. I don't think that there are people who are going to walk out or quit over this dress code. I don't think. I don't think that it's going to ultimately lead to them leaving the company or giving up on their union efforts. If anything, it's going to radicalize them further and poke the bear more. So, I mean, it's kind of. I think it's destructive on the end of Starbucks, and it's ultimately going to lead to, like I said, I think they're trying to do it to discredit the union, and ultimately it's going to backfire, and the union is going to win this one. And also, I want to say that they're trying to they're doing this to establish a warmer, more welcoming feel in their stores. Maybe they should just tear down those stores and let the actual cozy and small cafes that they ran out of town operate. I don't know. That's just my thing.
Thank you. Lizzie, I got one more for you.
Yeah.
We're not going to agree on this. And if it is, I like your conspiracy theory that this is really designed to really get rid of the rabble-rousers, and I hope they do it. Let's see. But I got one more for you. This is a social thing. I saw this gal on social media explaining why young women cheat on their boyfriends.
I did not. I missed that one. I must have missed that one.
Well, see, let me help you. Here it is.
I love you. I want to be with you. But it's just female nature that we just need to give ourselves to, like, the strongest male. And I see him over there. And I just have to give myself to him. I cannot help it. But I only love you. But babe, you have to understand it's biology that I'm seeing him, and he's obviously the alpha. He's like the strongest, right? So I love you. I only love one man, right? I love you. But I have to give myself to him. I don't have a choice. You just have to understand that. Why are you trying to fight biology? Don't be insecure. It's just the way it is.
That's clearly satire. No, that's obviously satire. That is 1,000. That in no way. That is genuine. That is not. I completely believe that is tongue in cheek on the women's part and kind of flipping the whole men have needs and that's why they cheat sort of line of thinking.
So nothing true there. Women don't go for the strongest dude. They'll stay with the metrosexual, almost girl manny rather than. They like that rather than the strong dudes. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, I don't.
That's what you're saying.
I don't think that women are motivated by the same factors as men. I think that security and safety comes first, and those.
Your safety comes first would be the stronger man.
The alpha men of today, I disagree. Those are the first ones who are throwing the punch at a woman. So I just disagree.
Oh, good grief.
There's plenty of UFC fighters who have allegations. That's all I'm saying. Plenty.
Oh, my Lizzie. Thank you so much, Lizzie. Always. I always end up learning so much.
I like to keep you guessing, Bo. Thank you so much.
Oh, yes. Sunday will never be the same. Neither will Saturday. Malcolm Hale from Spanky and Our Gang, who had this number 9 single in 1967. Birthday today, heavenly birthday for him, passed away in 1968. From carbon monoxide poisoning. Had a faulty heater. James Golden and Snerdley. Don't go away. Keep it right here.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This was not on the first album. Janet released Janet. She didn't release this. It was that day in 1993. Tomorrow's the anniversary of it. She sold 350,000 copies of her album. That was at that point, back in the 93, that was the highest any female artist had sold in a week. That record sold over 14 million copies. This is not from that record. So why are you playing it?
because this is Janet Jackson. It's a remix she did with P. Diddy.
Oh! Oh, Carlos, you just want to just, ooh.
Two stories, like two birds, one stone.
All right, okay, so this begs the question. Kelvin, have you heard what this guy asked that woman to do, this Cassie person, Ventura?
Yes, I did.
What did you hear?
I don't know if it's appropriate for this program to say what I heard.
That bad?
It's that bad. I heard it was an exchange of fluids, and it was...
Ew!
His daughters got up and walked out.
Wait a minute. His daughters got up and walked out of the courtroom?
Yep.
Yes.
After they saw the video and heard the testimony, they got up and walked out.
Oh, well, that's interesting. So his daughters didn't know that Daddy did it.
No.
They didn't know that Daddy did it like that.
Yeah, he did that. Yeah.
Wait a minute. So, Carlos, what have you heard about what? Let me tell you I'm trying to dress this up. One of the things that I heard that was to me just horrid is that the woman's mouth needed medical attention because of the things that were demanded of her. And that was just, and the things that were done to her, just totally. But my question again is, what woman in her? I mean this, folks, because you have to help me understand this. What woman in her right mind stays for this kind of abusive behavior, and then have the guy kicking you all over the hotel room floor like you're a piece of dirt? I mean, why are you staying? And then why are you writing him text after you've left him, talking about how much you miss him?
Manipulation, drugs.
What goes on here? She was 19. What kind of excuse is that? 19. So if you're, I don't understand. Do you understand this? Do you think you understand this? I
think that it's very hard, to like, if you've lived a life of fame and money, to like go away from that and like go back to what you used to be. So it's like a big question for those women, or like a big dilemma, to like, how do I go back to where I used to be, and like, how do I live this bubble or like cloud that I have, like I live in, with all these A-listers around me, all these people, all these producers that I have like circling me at 24/7, that will give me opportunities in my life, like and maybe another movie, another song, another album or something. It's like, I think it's very, very hard to like live that, to go away from it.
Okay. You have any thoughts on that, Kelvin? You in this?
I think she was just chasing a career. In the beginning, she was probably like, maybe this is what I have to do. And then after a while, it was just, it became regular to her. And they have that relationship. Like, they built on trauma. They trauma bonded. That's what I wanted to say.
Yow. We're going to grab some calls, 800-848-9222. Later on, sanity prevails when Princess Di is here, and also America's Small Cat from Lady Mom, Rhonda Schrock. And stay here. Don't go away, whatever you do.
The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Now, it's time for Protecting Your Future. Sponsored by Colonial Metals Group. Here's James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley.
My friends, Protecting Your Future, I have a question for you. If you are about to retire, what do you do? Or if you're thinking about it, but you're eligible for Social Security, what do? Do you take it? Do you wait to get the max? There's a story today of all places, New York Times. Why are so many retirees filing for Social Security earlier and additional? Over the expected, 276,000 people filed for Social Security benefits so far this fiscal year. That's up 13% from last year. People seem to be anxious. The morning after his 67th birthday, Marty McGowan filed for Social Security. That wasn't his original plan. He had originally planned to wait until he was 70 years old to claim benefits. in exchange for a heftier payment that would have yielded an extra $800 a month. But like other retirees in recent months, he was watching the Trump administration shakeup at the Social Security Administration during a time when the broader economic outlook appeared increasingly uncertain. Concerns, I'm sorry, no matter what they do, they gotta blame Trump for something. Concerns about the economy and access to benefits nudged him to file earlier than anticipated. He wasn't the only one. Almost 276,000 other people. I don't know whether it was right for him to do it or wrong. It depends on your individual economic circumstance. Sometimes it makes sense if you life expectancy, all that business included. You talk to a financial planner, figure it out whether it makes sense for you to take your Social Security when you're 67 rather than wait the 3 years. That's a decision that you should make with the qualified. The very last thing, if you want to protect your future, please take what you read in the mainstream press with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt, and do not give in to anxiety caused by mainstream media reporting on anything. That is one of the ways you can protect your future. I had another example here. U.S. downgraded by Moody's as Trump pushes costly tax cuts. Costly tax cuts. Yes, costly tax cuts. Yeah, huh? Make it make sense. I can make it make sense. The credit rating of the United States received a potentially costly downgrade on Friday. Potentially costly downgrade, as the ratings firm Moody's determined that the government's rising debt levels stood to grow further if Republicans act a new package of tax cuts. The downgrade to one notch below the highest AAA rating amounted to a repudiation of Washington, where President Trump, only hours early, had pushed his party to adopt a legislative packet that might add trillions of dollars to the nation's fiscal imbalance, because he must make permanent tax cuts that are already part of the tax code. So, again, don't get anxious over any of this. You take what the mainstream press reports, how they report it, and do not make your financial decisions in your life based on reporting from the mainstream press, because some of it doesn't make sense. And by the way, tax cuts do what? They increase government health. They provide more money into the Treasury, and that has been proven since the day. This is an old argument, folks. It goes back to Reagan and supply side economics. Speaking of which, Donald Trump and them saying trillions of dollars. I had two things I want you to hear. That was protecting your future, by the way. Don't base your financial on anxiety from what you're reading in the mainstream press. Protect your future. Make logical decisions. Leave what you read in the mainstream press and their spin on things out of your, or at least get another opinion to counter the narratives that you read about this economy in the mainstream press. Protect your future. I want to go back to this Middle East trip. Headline, and we covered this in the Daily BS today. Headline, Biden officials awed by Trump's rule-breaking Mideast moves. That's in Axios. The big picture, Just in the Middle East, and just in the past week, Trump has met with a leader the U.S. officially considers a terrorist, announced he'll lift all sanctions on Syria, cut a truce with the Houthis, plus a hostage deal with Hamas, both of which excluded Israel. He's acting on his own. What they're saying, Biden administration veterans who spoke with Axios raised questions about Trump's motivations, but grudgingly saluted his boldness. Gosh, I wish I could work for an administration that could move that quickly one minute. How does all this? He does all this, and it's kind of silence. It's met with a shrug, said Ned Price, a former senior State Department official under Biden. He has the ability to do things politically that previous presidents did not, because he has the unquestioned authority over the Republican caucus. And it goes on and on and on. Let me turn to another analysis of the Biden trip. Cut 39, Tim Sheehy of Montana had this to say on Folks, I believe he was on. And this is what Mr. Sheehy said.
Well, as we heard, even from Democrats in the Hill, Harris, it's pretty obvious that the best cure for Trump derangement syndrome is the truth. And they can't deny the truth that this trip has been an unbridled success for America. Business, not bombs, is the best way to get this region reoriented towards a pro-America stance. And some of these countries have been our greatest allies. I fought in those wars in the Middle East, multiple tours. In Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, they provided basing support, they provided intelligence support, and in some cases, key logistical support for our military operations throughout the region. And frankly, their prosperity and a very large portion is owed to America. Saudi Aramco opened up that region to modern oil exploitation, and their modern economy has been, in many ways, triggered by America. So they're repaying that, and this investment of $2 trillion into the bedrock of the American economy, it took Biden, I think, 4 years to maybe come close to $1 trillion. Trump's eclipsed that in a matter of days. So I think this is an incredibly powerful message to the entire world, and most importantly to a very chaotic region, about what America's values are and what's important to us, and the president has brought home a big win for us.
Now, the White House has its own, and I'm going to say the word, and please don't be offended by it, Trump fans, because it is what it is. The White House has its own propaganda about the trip. And it's good stuff, complete with it cut 40. Just play it. This is what they've released from the White House.
You're an amazing country. You're a rich country. You can have your choice, but I know you'll never leave my side. And you know the special relationship that we have and our country has. We have now, I think, substantially over $10 trillion of investment. And now when I add the $1.4 trillion, we easily break that number. We really appreciate your confidence and an investment. That's your biggest investment that you've ever made. And we really appreciate it. And we're going to treat you very, as you should be, magnificently. And you're a magnificent man, and it's an honor to be with you. Two countries also agreed to create a path for UAE to buy some of the world's most advanced AI semiconductors from American companies, a very big contract. This will generate billions and billions of dollars in business and accelerate the UAE's plans to become a really major player in artificial intelligence. So it's a great tribute to the job you've done here.
And it goes on, and this music swells, and it's all beautiful and wonderful. But the point is this. This Trump administration so far, I just read that Moody's thing. They're all, we're going to downgrade it because we're worried about future. Nothing that's happened. The word tax cuts might somehow or another be costly. Nowhere in the calculation from any of these leftist organizations or these leftists around the world is the calculation on what Trump has managed to accomplish in mere months. And part of it you heard in there. You put the numbers together. Donald Trump is now closing in on $11 trillion of new committed investments into the American economy. Close to $11 trillion of new investment into America since he took office in January. We've never seen anything like this, folks. How is that being calculated into all these gloom and doom forecasts that you're hearing? It's not. Meanwhile, what do you get? What do you get? What do you get from America's rocker? Cut number 38. Over in England, you get this from this guy.
That won't bow down to their ideological demands. They're removing residents off American streets and without due process of law are deporting them to foreign detention centers and prisons. This is all happening now. A majority of our elected representatives have failed to protect the American people from the abuses of an unfit president and a rogue government. They have no concern or idea of what it means to be deeply American. The America that I've sung to you about for 50 years is real. And regardless of its faults, is a great country with great people. So we'll survive this moment. Now, I have hope because I believe in the truth of what the great American writer James Baldwin said.
I met James Baldwin. Tried to pick up me and my friend in the village when we were kids. Younger teenagers, not pedo stuff. Anyway, that was Bruce Springsteen, Mr. Born in the USA, crossed the overseas in England, bashing Donald Trump. Meanwhile, folks, let's check in with CNN's Harry Enton. That would be cut 23. And let's get how this is really playing out in this country.
I think it's time for a bit of a reality check, right? We were going to late April. Donald Trump's approval rating, his net approval seemed to be falling. He seemed to be adios, amigos. People were writing his political obituary. He is rising from the dead. Look at this. Hello, Trump's net approval rating among voters. This is the Reuters Ipsos polling. Look at this. In late April, he was 8 points underwater. But look at where he was in the most recent poll among voters. He's up 7 points to a -1 point net favorability rating. This is not the picture I think a lot of people were thinking that we would be painting in late April. I think a lot of people expected his approval rating to keep dropping, but at least according to Reuters Ipsos, it's in fact rising.
Put this then in a larger perspective, Harry.
Yeah, okay. So, this is just one poll, right? But let's take a look across an aggregate of polls. What are we seeing here? And I want to compare both to where Donald Trump is now versus where he was in late April, as well as where he was at this point in term number one. What you see is at -6 points, he is a little bit worse off than he is in the Ipsos Reuters polling, but he is considerably better than he was in late April when he was 9 points underwater. And more than that, look at this. He's nearly 10 points better than he was back in May 16th of 2017 in his first term. So what we see is Donald Trump's not just doing better than he was doing in late April of 2025. He's doing considerably better than he was doing at this point in term number one, about 10 points better than he was doing at this point in term number one.
And finally, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough. Since we heard from Bruce Springsteen, let's hear from another entertainer. Let's balance things out. It's only fair, I think, that we do that. We heard from Bruce Springsteen, 37. Kid Rock was on with Jesse Waters the other night on Fox, and you heard from Springsteen. Now let's hear from Kid Rock.
When you play your concerts, do you ever see anybody with blue hair, armpit hair, female armpit hair? Some of these people we're looking at, kid, I don't know.
Man. Listen, I was just watching your clips, and we have this low birth rate in America, and it all made sense to me. It just hit me right now, because who's going to sleep with these ugly-ass, broke, crazy, deranged, TDS liberal women? I mean, you look at these rallies, it's like a bunch of women that no guy wants to sleep with, and a bunch of dudes that want to sleep with each other.
On this day, tomorrow is the anniversary of 1996. American singer-songwriter musician Kevin Gilbert passed away. Asphyxia due to partial suspension hanging. It was an accidental suicide. No. Anyway, he co-wrote this one with Sheryl Crow. All I want to do is have some fun, and maybe we'll be back, ladies and gentlemen. The Saturday morning vibe continues. Whatever you do, don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network. James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley, presents Rapid Phones.
Let's talk to Victor in Pennsylvania. Victor, thank you for waiting. Appreciate your patience. What's on your mind this morning?
First, I want to say you're the best. Can't get enough of you.
Thank you.
What would it take for the Senate to get rid of that filibuster rule?
A determination from both parties that it's time for it to go. Both parties use it to their advantage when they have power. And the Democrats complained about it when Republicans were in power, threatened to get rid of it. In fact, Harry Reid did get rid of it when it came to some judicial nominations, and they regretted it because it blew up in his face. So it would take a determination from both parties that it is time for it to go. And I don't see that happening. It benefits too much whoever has control of that body. And so far, look, here's what else it would take. It would take one party having over 60 members, a 60-member threshold of lead. Then, no, because even then they'd want to keep it. I don't see the filibuster going anywhere anytime soon, to be honest with you. And I think this congressional gridlock is going to stay. The thing that would overcome it and that would allow legislation to get through is if there were wide enough majorities in the House and in the Senate where it became inconsequential. In other words, a supermajority in the Senate and at least a sizable majority in the House. And we could get past this problem of, if it is indeed a problem of gridlock, and I say if because gridlock has its benefits, by the way. Victor, very thoughtful call. I appreciate it. Let's go to Eddie in Staten Island, New York. How are you, Eddie?
I'm fine, James. You are the best. Remember what Rush used to say? We don't give out any degrees at the EIB. Well,
yep.
This is what I'm going to say. President Trump's recent success is the change for the world. Is the change the world has been looking for. It is inclusive to all nations, and the lust for power and expansionism has hit a wall. James, isn't it history repeating itself when we had Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, and Pope John Paul? Look what has happened now. We have Trump, we have a new pope, and we have Britain being the first country that came to the table and signed a trade agreement. James, I'm excited about this because I see we are on the road for the entire world community to come together as one, and the fighting that has been going on for centuries is going to fade away. We are moving into a new era of peace, and Donald Trump is the man. I thank you and Mr. Kazimierz for giving the average person of this country a voice in the communications community. James, you are the best, man.
Thank you, Eddie. You are so generous. I appreciate it. Look, and I love you. I don't necessarily think we know where the Pope is going to come down on some issues yet. That remains to be seen. I do have a soundbite here, if we have time to get through, from the Prime Minister of the UK. I've had it, and I've been holding it for almost a week. So at some point today, Carlos, we have got to take 2 minutes and listen to this one quote from UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And we need to do that, at least, because I think it's really interesting, given where the UK is and has been on thing. Okay, folks, if you're on hold, stay on hold. I want to grab more calls. Got to figure out a way to do this. Maybe I'll ask Princess Diana if she wants to take some calls. I don't know, because I need to talk with Princess. I haven't talked with Princess all week. Okay, our number duo in Zakan. Our number trio coming up. In our number trio, Princess Diana. Her Highness will join us. America's Small Caffeinated Mom, Rhonda Schrock, will be here too, and you. So whatever you do, don't go away. Keep it right here.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, my friends, to our number trio. Here we are. And, ladies and gentlemen, here she is.
It's time for Radio Royalty with James Golden and America's Princess of Policy, Princess Di.
Yes, my friends, the nest of every nest, the goodness, the loveliness, the intelligence-ness, the analyst-ness, all of that good stuff wrapped up in one beautiful package with a sweet voice. Our very own Princess Diana is in the house. Welcome, Your Highness. How are you this morning?
I am so happy to hear your voice, Sir James. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just, fabulous. So much stuff. So much stuff is happening.
Well, we are in Trump time, and the events are fast and furious. It is really, as you say, a fire hose trying to keep up with, and all the stories are important. So that's what makes it the most difficult, because so many, vital, important global stories are happening minute by minute, and it is very hard to keep up with all of them, which is good for us, because Trump's enemies can't keep up with him either.
Well, this Middle East trip, I mean, and this begrudging praise that was in Axios for him, just marveling at the way that he's getting things done, these moves that he's making. Now, he endorsed direct talks with Iran. Iran, first, a high official said, you know what, they're really trying to move toward a deal. There was some walking that back. But apparently something is happening. And so you've got now closing in on $11 trillion of investments into the United States. This is unprecedented.
Unprecedented. And, that article you referenced, quoting a lot of Democrats and consultant types who are saying, well, it's so audacious what he's been doing. Why didn't Biden do any of this? Because, there were these unstated rules on how to go about, foreign policy and global negotiations. And Trump just always tears up the script of what has to happen. And he's doing it much differently. And once he does it, it all becomes surprising and obvious in retrospect that this was a good idea. And so now Biden advisors are all saying, well, Biden could have done all this. Why didn't he? We know
why. Well, and then you have, on top of that, you have Tapper. I still can't believe that Jake Tapper, of all people, is one of the co-authors of this new book, supposedly exposing the big cover-up. A cover-up that we all knew was happening in real time and talked about, and they're all pretending to be shocked. Oh, gee, Joe Biden had cognitive issues. Wow, I mean, what a shocker.
Well, listen, I think this shows that Tapper is a political fixer, and this shows that the powers that be in the party know this is the big problem. What happened with Biden? As I said last week, you live by the Bidens, you die by the Bidens, and they were all in on the Bidens. And they have sent Jay Tapper out with his co-author, Alex Thompson from Axios, to try and fix the problem by basically taking aim at Biden. This is what they're trying to change the subject from what they all did as media and Democrat Party consultants and the whole class of the deep state in Washington is try to pretend that this was a lie by the Biden administration that fooled everybody in the media. And so they are trying to come up with a plausible way of spinning this. And what they've landed on, believe it or not, is they are basically doing their own version of BDS, Biden derangement syndrome. If you read the media now, they are taking off after Joe Biden and the administration with such viciousness that you would think that Biden was a Republican. They are treating Biden and the Biden administration the way they typically treat the Republicans. Here are some of the headlines. The New Yorker, how Joe Biden handed the presidency to Donald Trump. And the Washington Post, Democrats rattled by fresh claims that Biden aides hid his frailty. And The Hill, obvious now that Biden was not in a condition to run for a re-election. So they are trying to rewrite history and, basically become the amnesia caucus by taking off after Biden himself. And the evidence of this, to me, is the fact that Axios got the Robert Hur audio, the interview of Biden with Joe Biden by the special counsel, which we only had the transcript before, which you read the transcript and you don't get the full effect of Joe Biden wandering in search of a thought and the ums and the pauses and all of that. And so the Republicans have been trying to get the audio released for years now, since this happened, and they haven't been able to. Well, all of a sudden, Axios, which is a left-leaning publication and one of the authors of the Jake Tapper book, called Original Sin, President Biden's Decline, Its Cover-Up, and His Disastrous Choice to Run Again. And the co-author, Alex Thompson, was the one who got the audio, which was released late last night or this morning. And so that is the nail in the coffin for my theory that they are trying to fix a problem they have going forward for 2028 as to how to spin. The great question is, what did they know and when did they know it? And they all knew, we all knew they knew. And so they are in a world of hurt, trying to figure out how they can erase the fact that they were all complicit in this great scandal, which, I think it's very interesting that the Tapper-Thompson book uses the term original sin. I mean, calling what happened a sin, all of a sudden, these people who have absolutely no morals about anything else are calling sin, the word sin, on what happened in politics with Biden's elevation and the complicity they all had with his obvious senility.
Now, we have that audio, and play at least a portion of it, Princess Di, of the Biden, now, let's remind everybody, they derided Republicans when they said, let's hear the audio. They fought to keep it quiet. Now, all of a sudden, we get a leak, and you're absolutely right, a leak. What is that leak? That usually happens when they're leaking something on Republicans. Liberals didn't leak on Obama. They didn't leak on Biden stuff. Now we get a leak all of a sudden out of somewhere. They leaked the Supreme Court decision on Roe v. Wade. We never found out who did that. All of a sudden, we get a leak of the Biden audio, and these leftists went nuts trying to denigrate Republicans and denigrate the prosecutor, her. This is the little audio that Axios came up with.
Audio of Joe Biden talking with special counsel Robert Hur has just dropped, and it was obtained by Axios. And the 2-day interview, remember, happened in October of 2023. And after that, Hur described Biden as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. I said at the beginning of the show that That was a very, very charitable way to describe how Biden came off now that we've heard this key part of the audio. Here he struggles to remember when his son Beau died. Watch.
We were living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden or the cancer donor shot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame.
Now, you can't see the video here, folks. I'm not going to continue the whole thing. It looks horrible, and he's stammering and stuttering, and this is terrible. And had this been released at that time, it would have sunk Joe Biden's presidency right then. Do you agree, Princess Diana?
I totally agree. And I think we all knew that that's what this was about and why they wouldn't release it. Because actually, I've listened to quite a bit of this audio, and it really isn't much different from the Joe Biden we would see, on stage or answering questions when they would allow him, small, brief public appearances. So he was wandering around, and then he would say, anyway, because he realized he'd lost his train of thought. And so this wasn't a surprise, actually, but it puts a point to it that you can't argue that he's all there. What they're using terms like his lack of mental acuity. The guy was toast. He was just shot. He was, as Trump used to say. And, this idea that this was a surprise to anyone at the time is the part of the cover-up.
Wow. Now, you mentioned in your text with me this morning that you're still furious at the House GOP post on X. What's that about? Well, the House Republicans have an X account, and it is at House GOP. And, it's probably an intern, but they post infuriating things all the time. And the one that got me was from May 13th this past week, and I am still mad about it. And here's the quote. One sentence. We need to get Americans off the sidelines. This is according to the House Republicans who have been in session for 44 of Trump's first 100 days, while the Democrats were in session for 70 of Biden's first 100 days. These are the people on vacation. These are the people who cannot bring themselves to enact any of Trump's priorities at all. And they are actively, basically sleeping, going home, on vacation. And how dare they say we need to get Americans off the sidelines? We're in the game, people, House Republicans. We're in the game. Where are you? You are MIA, all of you. And so the anger that is building from the base, from the voter base, is tremendous. Rasmussen had a poll this week asking Republican voters, do you agree or disagree with this statement? Republicans in Congress are not delivering on the mandate given to them by the American people. 60% of Republican voters agree with that statement. This is a problem. And for the tone-deaf House Republican ex-account manager to say that Americans need to get off the sidelines is infuriating. And I think that message needs to be sent to them. It's you who need to get in the game and do what we sent you to Washington to do. Goodness me. Well. I could not agree more. In fact, isn't it ironic that the only person that we've heard stand up and say we need to codify one of Donald Trump's executive orders into law is a Democrat?
Yes. And as I said to you in our text messages, if Democrats were smart, they would pick the pockets of the Republican Party and take these issues on for themselves. Now, of course, Democrats are not smart and aren't going to do it, but it's there for the taking. And the Republicans have got to get their act in gear and make sure that they are listening to us. And the fact that they would say this online tells me they have no idea how we feel about them right now. And that is a problem.
Princess Di, hold on. I got a rapid-fire question for you, 2 or 3 issues that are in the news, so don't go anywhere. And I'm going to just give you a heads up on it. I want to know what you think about this whole Comey thing. I also want to know, overall, where you think this is headed with Supreme Court, Trump, the courts, the whole shebang. Princess Di is with us, ladies and gentlemen. Born tomorrow, that's the birth date, Butch Tavares, from the group, of course, Tavares, born in 1953, one of the great groups of the 80s. James Golden, Snerdley with you here. The Saturday Morning Vibe continues with Princess Di. A little bit later on, America's Small Caffeinated Mom will join us as well. Don't go away.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Tomorrow is the birthday of America's crooner supreme, Perry Como. 1957, this was the number 1 single in America. Perry Como passed away in 2001, 88 years old. The music, of course, lives forever. He had three stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. One for his work in radio, another for his work in television, and, of course, as a musician, as a vocalist. Perry Como. James Golden is here. Princess Di is here. Princess Di, what do you think of this whole Comey business, 8647?
Well, it's obviously, we all know what he meant. And this has been a frequent sign on all of the protests. It's been held up by protesters, left-wing protesters, this 8647. And everyone knows what it means. And what has amused me in a very serious event, in my opinion, is the left-wing media trying to pretend that it's unclear what he meant by it. It could have been a reference. You know, this idea that Comey did not realize, as he claimed, what everyone knows that he meant by posting this thing he came across on the beach in shells that was spelled out, this random thing that he just happened upon on the beach, which everybody knows that he himself put the shells in that shape. So, you know, I appreciate the fact that the Trump administration and the Department of Justice is taking it seriously. Apparently, the Secret Service did interview Comey. And so, you know, this will be pursued. And, you know, his claim that he didn't know what it meant, I think, can be proven to be untrue. He's in trouble.
Good. Let me just ask you this. Are you at all concerned about where we are with the Supreme Court ruling that they want to kick this case back down to the Fifth Circuit on Trump being able to deport additional Venezuelans out of the country?
Court is a problem. However, I think it is not time to panic, as to quote the great Rush Limbaugh. This is still in process. You know, this is not a final ruling on anything. And so the court has kicked a bunch of things back down, and they haven't ruled yet. I do think that it may be that the Trump administration has to come up with a different mechanism than the Alien Act of 17, whatever it was, because that's what this question is on in the courts, on whether that can be used to deport. He may find another method, and he has obviously a lot of options available. So the deportation may ultimately happen, but may not be under that particular law.
You know what? This would be a perfect opportunity, and you know Democrats would do this. If Congress would just make it clear, the policy, then, of course, it would not pass the Senate. But that would be going right into the midterm elections. And I don't understand I don't understand these people. This is so obvious. Just put it into the law and make it happen.
Yeah, get off the sidelines, Republicans.
Ooh, gee, there you go. Princess Di, as always. Thank you so much. I got so much that I still want to discuss with you. I'm going to call you. I'm going to text you. We got to do a podcast. We've been saying we're going to do it. We got to do this podcast. I got stuff lined up. Thank you, Princess Di.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Yeah, we were going to play a soundbite here, but I'm going to have to scratch that just right now. Executive producer Rich Radabali walked in. He asked about, there was apparently some kind of game that happened last night in New York City, and somebody won something. What was it, Rich? What happened? Who won what?
Well, the New York Knicks defeated the Boston Celtics.
Who?
And made their way to the... Yeah, who? Come on, everybody knows. The New York Knicks. Go New York, go New York, go, right?
Oh, those guys that used to win back in the 60s.
That's right. Well, they're winning again, my friend. First trip to the conference finals in 25 years, I believe. Going to take on the Indiana Pacers.
Kelvin wasn't even born when they were...
Carlos, none of them were born. Just me and you were around. You know.
They don't even remember when they were actually champions or something.
I'll have to ask them if they know who Reggie Miller is. Shades of Reggie Miller here are going to take on, because the Knicks are going to take on the Indiana Pacers in in Game 1 at the Garden. So it should be an exciting series.
But what was the most remarkable thing about the post game, Rich?
Oh, I didn't see, but I heard that the New York Knicks snubbed Stephen A. Smith for an interview or something like that, right?
Yeah, that happened too. I don't care about that. You know what the most remarkable thing was? There were no riots in New York.
Sure.
What would happen if this were in Los Angeles or some other? Philadelphia. Those people riot as soon as there's like a win. They
set some cars on fire. We would have set some cars on fire, broke some store windows.
Yeah,
that's the way to celebrate. That's the way we celebrate around here. You know.
All right. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate it.
The country of the United States take a 747, but here's what's interesting to me. What the media isn't telling you, what no one's talking to you about, is this same 747 has been in negotiations for a year. The Biden administration is the one that started these conversations. It didn't start underneath the Trump administration. Why? Because we need a backup for Air Force One, because right now the President of the United States is flying around on a 40-year-old plane, and there is no backup for it. The backup we had, the airframe started having structural issues. No one's discussing that part. They're just discussing that the deal ended with President Trump. Maybe the media doesn't know. Maybe I'll give them a pass. Maybe you didn't know. I'll give you the pass. I'll give you a pass on that one. But the fact is, this conversation started with Qatar, with Biden a year ago.
That is Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. He was talking with Tapper. The real backstory behind the Qatar suggesting a gift of a plane. The backup for Air Force One, not functional. Air Force One, 40 years old, and the cost to maintain it, crazy. On this, day, yes, in 1986, Whitney Houston was at number 1 on the singles charts, would stay there for 3 weeks with this one. This song, co-written by Linda Creed, the great Linda Creed, who wrote so many hits with Tom Bell. This is a Linda Creed song. Whitney Houston, back in 1986. The greatest love of all.
James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley, presents Rapid Phones.
Let's go to Ross in the Bronx. Ross, how are you? Hello,
I'm always
Ross.
doing better when I'm listening to you.
Thank you.
Couple of points here. The Democrats and the left-leaning press seem to have lost their hearing. So I remember years back hearing so much about dog whistles, and I'm referring to this situation with Comey.
Yep.
they would always be saying, "Oh, this is a dog whistle to rile up a certain quarter of the population." And just quickly, I'd like to jump over to music. You mentioned Donna Summer's passing. I had the good fortune to meet Donna. Her husband is a personal friend, but I'd like to bring to light too her backup band, Brooklyn Dreams, made some great records back then, and they seem to have gone by the wayside, though they have all continued to have remarkable careers. Joe Esposito, who sang Heaven Knows, he went on to be lead singer of the Brooklyn Bridge. Eddie Hokinson went into some acting. They co-wrote Bad Girls. They were just a remarkable group that needs to be revisited. And because Bruce Sedano, he had great success as a songwriter and started with Alive and Kicking. So just a little music trivia.
Well, that's great information. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Donna Summer's amazing. I don't know whether a lot of people heard some of the records she did after the quote-unquote disco years, but she did one on Quest Records, which was Quincy Jones' label. And she also had, I guess it was a collaboration of like minds or whatever, with one of my favorite singers, Brenda Russell. And Donna Summer's so much more than Queen of Disco. Thank you for the call, Ross. I so appreciate you. Jeff, in Forest Hills, New York, you are up next. How are you?
Good morning, Bo. Yeah, I just wanted to say the 86 term. A lot of people are saying, it comes from the restaurant. But it does. They use it in a restaurant. All right? It means something's spoiled or they're out. So you got an 86 to egg salad because it's old, or you're out of egg salad, so the egg salad is 86. But the original term comes from when the working guys lived uptown in Germantown, and they worked downtown, rather, and they took the trolley. So some of the times they go to the bar, they worked all day, and they'd be sleeping on the trolley. They'd switch operators on the trolley, so one operator would say to the other operator, yeah, these guys, 86 them, because 86th Street was where they got off the trolley.
Oh, my goodness.
That's how the term became.
It's amazing what you learn. 86 of them. Got it. We got to run, my friends. Leaving with you a little Donna Summer in here. Coming back with America's Small Caffeinated Mom, Rhonda Schrock. So whatever you do, don't go away. If you have time, we'll grab more calls. Keep it right here on the Saturday Morning Vibe.
The James Golden Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The James Golden Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I don't know why we're playing this song, but Carlos picked it.
I was listening to it this morning, and I was thinking, I've had some good times listening to this song, and I've never realized what he's talking about on the song. Like, until
what is he talking about on the song besides the liquor store and whatever else?
Yes.
Oh, this is like one of those Diddy songs, in other words. Thank you, Carlos.
Three birds, one stone.
3 birds, 1 stone. Kids these days. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to check in. Thankfully. With America's Small Caffeinated Mom, Rhonda Schrock.
Oh, that's so funny. Good morning, James. Hi, Carlos.
Good morning, Rhonda. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Oh, you said earlier a little bit of sanity, bringing a little bit of sanity, and I love that. I definitely want to do that today. The clips, some of those clips that you play, James, with people shrieking and ranting and raving, oh, my goodness, it's so jarring. There's so much on social media that's really jarring, and I hear you almost every day trying to get in as much of the breaking news as you can, and it's nearly impossible to keep up with all of that. Well, I decided this week that it was time to step back from the immediate furor that's always in front of us and to focus on something that's truly important, and that is the power of kindness. It's something I have been practicing for a number of years now, and it has brought such rich gifts into my life. And this is how I practice kindness. I don't know if you remember what I call the Chick-fil-A boys. I told just a little bit of their story once on the air a long time ago, but I have an amazing follow-up. The Chick-fil-A boys were two African-American young men that Grant and I ran into at a local Chick-fil-A one hot summer night. They were right in front of us, and they were impossible to miss. They were very heavily muscled, they were really built. They were dressed in a very bright pink spandex, maybe 3 square inches of spandex apiece. They had very glamorous, flamboyant glasses on. Their whole appearance said, look at us. And they were right in front of me, and I'm looking at them, and I'm thinking of my own children. And all at once, it was very, very hot that day. One of them just slid down the wall as we were all waiting in the line, and he sat on the floor. And his face was sweaty, and I could tell he was not feeling good. And he said, it's just so hot. So I leaned over, I looked at that sweaty face sitting down there, and I said, do you need a glass of water? And he said, no, I'll be fine. Well, he wasn't fine, and pretty soon he got up, and he walked over to a corner table, kind of out of sight, and he sat down, and I couldn't bear it. So I slipped over to the counter, and I asked the employee behind the counter, could I have a glass of ice water? And she gave it to me, and I took it over to him and handed it to him, and I said, I have 4 children in the world. I love it when other mothers out in the world find them and they're kind. I'm doing this for your mother. And he looked at me and he was smiling. Yes, and he said, thank you. He said, I have asthma. And I said, well, do you need anything? No, I'll be fine. And so anyway, I went back to line. His buddy was holding his place in the line. My husband was holding our place. We got our food. We ate, they were eating, and I just felt that nudge on my back, and I went back over to those 2 boys, and I sat down across the table from them, and I said, there is something special about you. And this is how it works with me. When I meet special people, I like to get their first names, and then this is what happens. When those names come back to my mind, I pray for them. 2 faces were beaming back at me, and they said, thank you. And we all said our goodbyes, and we left. A year and a half later, on a very cold winter night at a different Chick-fil-A, my husband and I were just finishing our meal, and all of a sudden he said, look, there are your friends. And I turned around, and there they were, again in their signature clothing. And I jumped off my chair and I ran over, and they remembered me. And the first words from their lips were these, have you been praying for us? I was stunned. A year and a half later, those young men remembered what I had said. And I meant it with all my heart. And with all my heart, I told them, oh, have I been praying for you? Yes, I have. And I'm thinking, you have no idea how much. It was so encouraging to me that those little encounters matter. They matter, and they affect people's lives in such a positive way. There was another young man that came to me, too, in a food court at the mall of all places. He was sitting at a table beside me. I was waiting for my husband. He was eating a plate of tacos, and I just started talking to him. And in no time, I knew what grade he was in, what sport he played, and what he wanted to be when he grew up. He wanted to be a mechanic, and his name was Alex. And I just started. I could have laughed because I thought of the used car lot that we had at our house with all those drivers. You could only imagine. And I said to him, we could sure use a good mechanic. And now he's chuckling. And then again, one more time, James, I felt that unseen hand on my back, and I'm looking into his face that's just beginning to sprout its first mustache. And I said, your life has a purpose. God's eye is on you, and I don't mean in a harsh, angry way. I mean in the most loving way, and I'm going to be talking to him about you because I want you to be successful. And there went that smile. It was so very sweet, and that was all. That was all. I did not move 1 inch out of the way. Just in the course of my ordinary life, Providence brought these young men to me, and it has happened countless times. Well, to my great gratification, my husband, who is not comfortable talking to people he doesn't know, he has watched me having these interactions long enough that it has given him courage to approach strangers at certain times and to just offer them the bits of kindness that he carries. And I'm so very proud of him, and it just reminds me again that courage can be borrowed and it can be loaned, and kindness spreads, and kindness is contagious. And I would rather be focusing on the contagion of kindness than the contagion of the hatred that is in so much of the world today. I would like to think that we are, by just practicing these simple little things, that we're creating a culture of kindness for our family. Because even though our sons are not always with us when this happens, they know that it happens and they've seen it happen. And I believe that they're going to carry that baton forward. I want them to be doing that now, but when I'm gone, I want them to be raising their children with that culture of kindness. So the truth is that we can be fillers of the cup, or we can be spillers of it. We are builders of bridges, or we are among those who destroy. And all of it matters, and all of it affects other people. And it is as simple as smiling at the person beside you, or asking a simple, heartfelt question, or giving a compliment, or a simple thank you that you mean. There are so many weary and hurting people right around us, and we do not have to go out of our way to find them. Providence brings them, and he puts them right beside us, right behind us, right in front of us. We only need the eyes to see them and just enough courage to offer it. It's a privilege to offer it. That's what I've been thinking about this week.
Wow. As always, it's so beautiful, so beautiful. All these people you meet, you have the most amazing. I want to call it a scrapbook, but here's the thing: it's not a scrapbook in pages. It's like you have the amazing. It's like a spiritual scrapbook that you have collected over these years with the people that you meet, these experiences that you've had. It's really amazing, Rhonda.
I love that. And you know what, James? I don't always talk to a person that I notice. Sometimes I just simply pray, and they never know that they've had a divine encounter, but they have, and it shifts things. So I love that scrapbook. That's such a great analogy. Yes, my scrapbook is full, and I intend to keep adding pages, with faces and names. It matters.
Yeah. I love it. Where can people find your essay?
Fillers of the Cup is on thedailybs.com, which is on your website.
And where can people find you, my dear?
RhondaSchrock.com, SCHROCK.
Rhonda, always inspiration, always a pleasure, and I thank you so much.
It's my delight. Thank you so much, James.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have just my dear friend Ed Shea texted me during the break, and he reminded me of something that we had talked about on the show when Ed was on the show. He reminded me that this is it. This is the final day that one of America's most amazing singers will be wrapping it up. Wrapping up a career that spanned 70 years. His debut album, recorded for Columbia Records, came out in 1956. He's a teenager at the time. And we have watched him grow. We have watched him mature. We have watched him. I saw him live in New York many, many years ago with my dear friend who passed many years ago, Kevin Smith. We were buddies from elementary school all the way up until his passing after we had finished high school, et cetera, and college and all that stuff. But we went to see Johnny Mathis, and we were kind of it was different, put it like that. But Mathis was amazing. He was an amazing performer, and is. And so Johnny Mathis is wrapping it up after a 70-year career. He has his last show tomorrow night at the Bergen Pack in Englewood, New Jersey. And it was sold out the minute it was announced. And my dear friend, Ed Shea, who is one of the most amazing musicians in the world, behind so much music that we all love and know, very integral part of the sound of Philadelphia and the music that came out of the Mighty Three. So we leave you today with some Johnny Mathis. The voice, the man, the legend. Thank you, Johnny Mathis, for all the years of beautiful, great, wonderful, historic music. And thank you to my friend Ed Shea. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your family, your loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here with me and allowing me to be with you. God willing, we are all back together again this time next week. Yes, and I'll be here during the week too. We leave you, ladies and gentlemen, today. The voice, the man, the legend, Johnny Mathis. I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to The James Golden Show. You can hear The James Golden Show Saturday mornings at 7. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.